All right, Marou, how are you?
Hello.
Welcome to the first ever episode of Happy Hour with Alessandro. I'm drinking coffee because it's too early for a glass of wine, which I would like to do about 5 o'clock. And we're going to be discussing with you about quantum intelligence and how you got involved in it. A little bit of background. You're in Greece, you're 7 hours ahead. Uh, I was in Greece 3 years ago, and I believe that's where you and I had lunch, and we started discussing, and it was one of those lunch discussions that lasted hours, and we basically had to get asked to leave. We had a lot to talk about, and I figured I want to speak to interesting people who have a lot to offer and give to the world. And so you came to mind. I reached out 5 days ago out of nowhere. I was on the beach. I was like, I wonder how she's doing. I've seen your posts, and I wanted to reach out, and I did just that. And you were very receptive. You were like, okay, let's do this Zoom. So here we are. So this is your platform. It's very. We don't edit here. We are ad lib. We'll make mistakes. We'll have technical problems, but such is life. And I want this to be as raw as possible. This is not an interview. It's an exchanging of minds, an exchanging of information. We're two friends just having a chat, you know?
What a beautiful introduction, Alex. Thank you so much for having me. Your idea just touched my heart. When you reached out, I said, "Oh my God, I so want to do this." And yeah, I know how we connect in communication. So it's just easy for us. And thank you so much for having
My
me
pleasure.
on your show and being the first person. I'm honored. And yeah, I'd love to share with you. And thank you so much for that beautiful introduction about what I do for the world. Thanks. I'm
Absolutely.
just at the
Absolutely.
beginning. I'm at the beginning.
Yeah. If you want to start from the beginning of how, I mean, again, quantum intelligence is something that I learned from, I guess, you. You're the first person who introduced me to this quantum intelligence, and I didn't even know what it was. So, being with a psychology background, I felt fairly ignorant. I should have known, maybe, or read up on it, but it's definitely something that's not everyone. It's not mainstream yet. I don't think it is. It's gonna get there. But how did it all start for you? How did it begin? The interest.
Okay, so what happened was in my life I was very good in many things, but not an expert in one thing, and I never felt that I was 100% in anything I did. So I did like different things. I did from dancing, drawing, even designing clothes, changing the decor in the house. Like I was like from a very young age, or writing my own music. So I was really good in many things, but I didn't see myself in anything. And then I went through, I went directly to the American dream, which meant, husband, dog, beautiful house, the picket fence.
Why do you say being Canadian? Why do you call it the American dream?
That's how they call it in Europe.
Okay.
Like
He was an American, right?
Americans call it American dream, right?
I know, but it's because you're not. That's why I found it interesting.
I know, but everybody was going. I believe that when you want the material world, you have been persuaded by the American dream, that's what you want. You know what I mean?
Was he American or Canadian?
No, Greek, totally Greek.
Oh, he's Greek. Okay, yeah. So it was really the American dream.
Yeah. So it was really like I just aimed, and I was running at 100 miles per hour, and then I was like, I just didn't get anything from what I was intending to get. Like nothing worked out. Not only nothing worked out, but also I broke up with my then husband. I lost my health. I didn't, I stopped going to work because I couldn't. And the beautiful thing is I just got up one day, every day I would wake up like a robot. And then one day I just did what I would never do. And no one that was sane would ever do. I just didn't go to work. I didn't have any thoughts about how I'm going to pay the mortgage, how I'm going to pay the bills, what's going to happen to the house if something the bank's going to do. Nothing. I didn't know anything. And I got up and I just said, my body did not want me to move. It said no. So I just said, I'm never going. And I don't know what's going to happen. Yeah. Like there was no way I was going to put myself through that violence again, because it is abuse when we're actually pushing ourselves and forcing ourselves to do things that we don't really want to do. It's not resonating with our, what we really want. So fortunately, my body responded in a way that I couldn't pull and push anymore. I had forced it enough. And from that moment onwards is when the journey began, because I just allowed for me to, I knew I was not going through depression. I have been through depression. This was more or less of what's going on? What am I going to do? Like questions here, questions there, but they were not the accurate questions. And then what happened was that as if that wasn't not enough, I had also lost my health. Meanwhile, because of the, me forcing myself to do things, right? I got hypothyroid, and the doctors had told me I want to be, I'm going to not be able to see, lose my sight, and also be sterile. And I was like, I couldn't believe it. I was just crying and crying. And through that process of the illness, I actually, felt intuitively that I just have to touch me here and say, I am loved, because I felt that here is the problem. Here's where I need more love. And I used to ask my then husband to send me love. And in 1 month, because in Canada you need to make different kind of tests, blood tests, and they don't just give you pills like that. You need a few months before they're sure that that's what's good for you. Like in Greece, it's easier. You go to the doctors, they'll give you they will prescribe pills more easily, I think. But there we were running tests, and so then when they saw that my TH levels was at 24 and the normal ones are at 1 point something to 4 point something, so 24 was really high. They gave me the purple pills, and I took them for a week, but my body reacted. And then by all this pressure that I was feeling, this resistance, I got like a light bulb experience that, I made myself sick. I need to heal myself. So then I started doing this, and I had no idea what I was doing.
Almost
I didn't know
like
Reiki.
positive energy.
Yeah, I didn't know. So this was only the beginning, just the healing process, which I'm not into the healing anymore, because that's like the past, how I grew into this, method that I'm teaching now. Sorry?
You're healed.
No, not really. Not really. It's something different. What I did is I actually understood that if I want to heal everybody, I need to be like a power bank. And I don't want people to need me. I want them to learn self-healing. I want them to know what I know, because, this whole awakening process for me was I went straight to the core, because I asked myself, who am I? Why am I here? How do I reach my ideal version? Right. And then I started questioning my every thought that had been, connected to something that I call reality. So when my reality collapsed, I saw beyond all the curtains that we have created for ourselves. It was very, very scary. It was a 4-month period of extreme pain and fear, but I started seeing. So when I started seeing that, people would come to me and ask for me for these lessons, I didn't even know what I was doing, actually. They were just asking for things, right? I said, I need to teach them how to do this for themselves, like not for me to do it to them. I don't want them to need me, right? I want them to be independent, because this wisdom was within us. It's not something that we need to access from outside. So what happened is, today what quantum intelligence could be in a nutshell is, how do we update our versions of selves like this? Like we can do it for ourselves, right? We can actually create new versions of ourselves, but in a fast pace. It doesn't have to take time. Right. And since we update ourselves, our reality reflects that exact change, that new updated version of ourselves. So this process for me has been one which I have experimented on. So first I experimented to see how this universe works. I was learning the language of the universe. And then when people were asking for more lessons and more lessons, and they were working with them too, I was like, wow, this is some important, information.
So you were actually, as you were, I guess, teaching, you were learning as well simultaneously.
Well, at the beginning, I'll tell you what was happening. The only thing I was learning was what my students would tell me. At the beginning, when I first started teaching, they were asking, when they would meet me outside of the lesson, they were like, but you're different than the person that's having a lesson. How's it possible? You're the extreme polarities. So
as far as how they anticipated you were, personality,
even looks, they were telling me even my voice would change. At the beginning, it was like 2 extreme versions of self. One was totally in the dark. I don't know what I was doing there. And the other one was just consciousness. I was getting into a state where I was able to just see without any attachment to time and space. So outside of that place, I was just, me with all those same problems that I could not unlock for myself because I didn't know how to do it for me. I was able to see for others, not for me, for many years until that switched. It did switch.
And it switched to something that enlightened you. You had an epiphany at one point.
How it switched was this, one of my friends, I was crying and crying. I was telling her, I want a teacher like me. I know that if I had a coach like me or a teacher like that, I didn't even know the wording of it, I would be able to unlock everything. Where can I find a teacher like me? How am I going to do it? I either have to make one of my students, or I have to be able to teach myself, or I'm going to have to find another person that's already there. And she told me something really wise. She says, but there is no one exactly like you. Like there's nobody exactly like anyone.
You have to create your own path.
Well, yeah, but also to accept that I'll never find a teacher exactly like me on the outside, which I never did actually.
Right.
No one is exactly like me. It didn't make sense what I was asking for. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like exactly knows my method and teaches it in the exact same way. No, there is no such person. They all, I have students that have actually learned the technique, they do it in their own way, but that's their own way. It's not my way.
Right, exactly.
So when I accepted that I'll never find that, person, I kind of let go. And that's when I met one of my friends, who is, she's an intuitive chiropractor and helps women give birth without pain and fear. So that's when she helped me with another way. But yeah.
And this is all leading up to quantum intelligence. I mean, as of now, you didn't know what you were doing. You were just trying to heal, but you weren't able to label it yet.
No, I couldn't. Not even when people would ask me what I do, I was like, okay, so I was using examples of the people that I had, reminded of how they switched the reality, how they shifted their identities, and I was only using the examples of my students. So I would tell them this happened and that happened and this happened one day in 1 hour and 1 second. And I was like, and I was telling them, they were like fascinated. I'm sure most of them maybe would never even believe me, but I mean, the outcome of whatever shift they were experiencing was with speed, because I believe that we grow fastest when we play a game.
Okay.
And
can you go in more detail?
Yeah, because so quantum intelligence became awakening games. So the umbrella of what it is, so quantum intelligence is the basis is on quantum physics, right? So quantum intelligence, how do you train your mind to think on the quantum level by going binary to quantum. That's the shift, right? But the whole method is awakening games. So awakening games is what? We just play a game. So, for example,
we get play a game with ourselves.
Yes.
Okay, with our head.
Yeah. Sorry?
With our head.
Yeah, well, for example, there's multiple games that anybody could play. I'll give you an example. So somebody comes in and they want to feel, they're stressed and or they're going through panic attacks and, they want to be calm. So the question I ask them is, they usually think, you see, everybody is confused. They usually think that they want to be calm, but that's not what they want. They actually want to, to make peace with being in anxiety. Because a person who's not well in anxiety can never be well in calmness. They get stressed there.
Right.
If everything's calm, they're stressed. So they don't trust anxiety, but they don't trust calmness either. And real calmness is not, one that has never experienced anxiety. Calmness has mastered anxiety. That's real calmness. So first it has to meet anxiety and then master it. So the guru of, equanimity, he never felt stress? It's impossible. Nobody mastered stress. So he needs to meet with stress again and again and again so that he masters it. So the first game is this. I ask them, is it easy for you to be stressed? And they're like, oh, yeah. I'm like, perfect. So can you feel stressed all the time? But this time you will just notice it 3 times a day and say a mantra, which the mantra is, depends on the specific person or on the specific game we're playing. But it didn't matter whatever word we were using in the mantra. What matters is that we're interrupting a programming. So we're all on, we're all numb and we're actually playing to a specific programming that is very subconscious. And it sounds like this. It's hypnotic, but it's actually writing a script. So for us to awaken, we need to catch the script because we're anticipating it, but we needed, we need every week, we need one specific anticipation. For 1 week, it could be stress. The next week, it could be, I don't know, anger, like all the emotions, just to connect with us. And then from that place, when we connect on the thought, emotion, and feeling level, what happens, our reality starts shifting, but it happens very fast. So within a week, if somebody starts playing this game, by calling in what they had until now rejected and escaped, what happens is when I embrace the negative, right? Because all this time, what do? We reject and escape the negative, and the positive, it's opposite positive. So I escape anxiety,
Right.
and calmness escapes me, right?
Of course.
So what I'm doing to the negative, the positive reflects back to me. When I embrace, yes, exactly. When I embrace anxiety, what does calmness do? It comes and finds me. And that's how I master and I become whole more and more. That's the game. But now, because our central processing unit is not wired in that way, it's wired to do the, vicious circle, like going around in circles, going nowhere, fighting our own selves, chasing the half part of ourselves and escaping the other half. And that's just,
It's like a hamster, right?
Sorry? Like a hamster. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Going nowhere. It just keeps going in a circle and going nowhere until he gets out and then moves on.
Until you interrupt the pattern, interrupt it. So what
the
we
playing
do
game is the objective of playing this game is to interrupt the thinking, the pattern that you're on.
Yeah, but the only thing that the person playing the game needs to do is just want to play it the way they have been playing it. This is the secret. We don't want them to want to interrupt it. We want them to want to repeat the pattern, because only then can you interrupt it, you see? And then they just say the word and they interrupt it. If they wanted to change it, the subconscious programming would be, submerged. It would be like, you wouldn't be able to notice it. It would hide from us because we're wanting to change it.
Right.
But when you don't want to change something, it shows up. And the moment it shows up, you just catch once, twice, 3 times, and it's done. If you do this for 3 days, 3 times in a day, the programming has already shifted. That's it. But you just catch it.
So this is what you mean by you can do things expeditiously. It doesn't have to take a year, 2 years to change your it's and which is the commonary mainstream way of doing therapy or some sort of this is like an acknowledgement and it's stopped right at its feet kind of thing. That's what it sounds like.
I'll give you another example, and I think I've told you this when we had met the last time you were here. One of my students, he was an entrepreneur, and he had this really so when he came, he had anger, he had anxiety, he had horrible relationships with everybody. At the end of 3 months, he had changed all that around. People were asking him how can they were calling him guru, people were calling him guru, and how they could be like calm, and he was loving and hugging people in his company, and he had changed. Really, even his personality. People were asking him who had he fallen in love with, and falling in love is actually something beautiful. If we fall in love with ourselves in life, it shows. Everybody notices, right? So what happened was he comes to one of our sessions and he asks for this. He says, "I have this, multi-million-dollar company that's been suing me for years, and I don't have the energy or the money to keep paying the lawyers and the lawsuits." He's like, "Can you please resolve it?" And I'm like, "Sure, we'll do it in a week." It's like, what? I didn't believe it either. The funny thing is that in that moment, when I'm in that state, I know that everything's possible, right? Because everything's impossible and possible at the same time, but I just need to find the right code to connect them so they could unlock. So in that moment for him, it seemed impossible. And I told him, it's going to be challenging for you because you don't believe that it's possible. He's like, "Well, of course I don't." Although he had changed so many things in his life and he was so grateful, it sounded like it's not possible. So what we did is we decoded what the company was for him. It was very simple. I asked him, "What does that symbolize for you?" And he said, so what is this company for you? If you could, describe it as a person. He says it's strict and unfair. I'm like, "Who was like this in your family?" "My father." "Oh." He had lost his father 10 years now. So we had to go and change the neural synapses that he had with his father. That's the technique that we do in the lessons. And then he had to catch himself in feeling some specific emotion. I don't remember which one it was, because it's always a specific emotion that you expect to feel, or a specific event that you expect to happen, or a specific thought that you expect. You need something that is repetitive to catch you in the moment, that you're familiar with. So you call in the familiar programming, the pattern,
Right.
the automatic pattern. So
the key essence to fixing it is to be in the pattern, or else it's hard to identify and to
be in the path, you said?
to be in the pattern, in that pattern that you're on. Without that
Yes.
pattern, you can't stop.
You can't access anywhere. You can't
predict
access
when it's coming. Yeah.
So we need the dysfunctional programming to come up, and also want it, because the moment you want it, you meet with it so many times, and you have the opportunity to call it in. You say yes, 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 because until now we said no, and it will continue to go on auto repeat. It was just automatic, right?
Right.
So now you say come in, it comes, but now you know how to transmute it. Transmute means that from there that it doesn't function for me, it actually works for me. So it changes polarities. It's not that, you see, the thing is, there is no negative and positive in reality. It's what I do with the energy that shifts it. So whatever energy I reject and escape and hide and protect myself from, it becomes negative. Whatever I embrace becomes positive, you see.
Right.
So back to my student. So he said, okay, I'm gonna do the exercise. And I said, you have nothing else to do. You just do it inside of you. So I think it was a thought. He had a specific thought, right? I said, the moment the thought shows up, because he was stressed about them sending another letter, I told him, once you do this a few times, because I think it's about three times a day for 3 times, which is 9. You need a total amount of 9 times you say it maximum. And I said, they're going to send you a paper to say that we are not going to continue pursuing this lawsuits anymore. And we want to just, I don't know how you call it in business, but I had explained to him that they just wanted to, end it there.
Yeah, dismiss.
And they sent a paper, and they did. Somebody would call me like, oh, how did you see that? Okay, so I need to explain something. The way I see the world.
You're not a psychic.
No, not at all. I wouldn't call myself a psychic, because I understand how my mind sees. Had I not, I would think I'm a psychic, yes. So maybe I could explain that, because it's kind of interesting.
Sure.
So you know how we go to the mechanic to fix our car, to repair a car, and he might be hasty, and he might say, I don't have the specific oils and stuff, but having fixed it this much, you're going to be able to go another, I don't know, 100 miles, no problem. But then you're going to have to go and repair it again, right?
Right.
So he's not predicting the future. He just knows exactly how the car functions, and he could predict, when it's going to need to be repaired. Same thing with a dentist or a doctor. Not all of them could be that accurate. It's not necessary. But that's how I see things. I see the interconnectivity very fast, and I could see it forward, backward, in, like on multi levels. But in a nutshell, that's how my mind works.
That's fascinating. So now, I mean, does this tie into religion in any way?
No.
Okay.
I believe that what this does, it actually allows you to open up to who you really are, which means who you really are could be anything. And I don't teach people. I don't train people. I don't coach.
I mean, you don't need licensing. I mean, you're not licensed. There is no licensing for this. It doesn't exist.
Oh, nobody's ever asked me either.
No, because here in the States, everything is a license. Whether you're a mortgage broker, or you want to be a therapist, you want to be a counselor. Accreditation.
You know what I believe about license? This happened to me. I had a seminar, a very small group, and there was this woman there, and she had just come because her friend had come. She was not very interested in the seminar, so she asked me a question. She says, "Do you have a license for what you're practicing?" And I told her, I have a license. I have a master's degree for what I don't do. And I don't have any degree for what I do. Because I do it, and the outcome is right away. First of all, I don't care to persuade. I never persuade people.
Right.
Because
you're not into sales here. You're not selling anything.
No, because if I need to persuade them, then I need to take their responsibility of what happens to them, either positive or negative. And I don't want to, that's something I wouldn't do. So no, they choose this because it resonates. So I talk to them and it makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Makes sense to me.
That's, yeah, thank you. That's it.
That's again, I find it fascinating. If you could describe quantum intelligence in layman terms, can you do that for people who don't understand? You know, again, these are all technicalities. When I find myself listening to you, I am fascinated. I'm also having to listen carefully because everything you're saying is specific and it has a meaning and it leads to something else as well. So, and because it's foreign territory. Again, this is not something I've heard a million times and know it inside out. Can close my eyes. Any other topics? You want to talk about depression? You want to talk about any other stuff? I mean, I've done this. You know, being a psychology major, your typical stuff, but I don't think I've heard in my entire 4 years of college the word quantum intelligence. Maybe back then it wasn't prevalent. I mean, I graduated in 87, 88, 1987. So do you think back then people were discussing about quantum intelligence? They were.
Oh yeah, they
Yeah.
were.
Not with me though.
I could explain to you why we have access to information when we do, and why we don't have access to information when we don't. So everything exists at the same time because there is no time. We are persuaded by the illusion of time. Why? Because we believe that what we see is what exists. But in reality, it's what we think exists right now. That's what we see. We don't see what exists.
And evidently everything is in hindsight because as we are speaking, it's already in the past. So the present is never, you're always 1 second delayed, or there is no real present. I almost like, it's very difficult concept. These are difficult concepts.
I can give you an example. When I started teaching these lessons, I was Googling, what was I going to Google? I didn't even know the word quantum. It was very intuitive what I was doing. So I was looking at other coaches or other teachers or other spiritual teachers, and I was like, yeah, but they don't teach what I teach. How come mine is so fast? How come mine is so accurate? What is it that I do? What is this? So back then I just knew people that did something different than me. And from that day to today, my journey has been to more openly receive more and more people that talk about what I do. They do it in another way. Not a lot of them do it. They do it in another way, certainly. And the way I do it differently is I want to connect technology, consciousness, and a game. So those three together, that's something that we're going to do in the near future. We're preparing this project right now. But just to answer your question, because you did ask me how I can say it in a simple way, what quantum intelligence is. So what quantum intelligence is, let's talk about quantum shifts. So quantum shifts are consciousness shifts. So basically, if I looked at my life at the age of 20 now, right, from now, and I could actually tell myself in the past the information I know today, and I was able to become that person at that age, what would happen to me, you see? And it's because we cannot do that, but what we can do is give us all this information today, and instead of waiting and anticipating for time to give us this information, we can get it in the now. So instead of waiting for time to happen so that we grow older, wiser, blah, 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 what do? We don't need time to get information, get wiser. We just need to decide to go in time. Instead of this way, we go this way. Because time is not linear. So if time is linear, I only get better and better by, days and months and wiser. But how about if I can get wise in a moment, right now, wiser? But to the extent that somebody else would need a year, I could do it in. Time is circular, so it goes like a spiral. And so the question is, how about if I get access to the information that somebody would need a year and I could get it in 1 day? It's possible, and it happens.
I mean, you're creating your business out of this, and then you're obviously speaking to multiple cultured people, well, not just Greek people in your immediate network. I assume as you mentioned, people in different countries that you did you say counsel? How do you say, what's the terminology that you use when you have a session?
Reminder, I call it game shops. We're going to play a game. That's what I call it. And then I tell them I'm a reminder, just like your alarm clock. I don't have any other word that actually, symbolize exactly what I do. So reminder is the closest I could talk, I could use.
Something we already know.
Yeah, everything is something we all know. We just
But it's
remember.
it's in our subconscious.
Right.
And so there's a person who brings it out. It's like the ego and the super ego. One is conscience and one is not. And the super ego brings it out.
So the one thing is I hold the space. So as I said before, there's no time for me. And I get into a state where there's no time, there is no space for me, not attached to anything, of my ego. And the only thing I do is I ask questions, because questions are the ones that have, the question is the wisdom, not the answer. So if I could find the right question, I got the answer right away because it's the same one.
Right.
You
It's
just
almost hard to find the right question to get the right answer.
Right, and that's accuracy. So what I do is that I hold that space, but I also ask the question that helps them see themselves, and they get the answer. And they feel it. They get multiple aha moments. So they get, those things that we get. We've all experienced this. That, oh my God, now I understand why this happened, or now I understand why that person was this way after years.
You mean like ex-girlfriends?
Like ex-girlfriends, yeah, and ex-wives and ex-husbands, right?
Then you have maybe aha moments, and I'm sure they do too. It's almost like, well, that's why, 5 years ago I thought about that, and that, and it's almost like, aha.
Yeah, and you know what, Alex? Sometimes we actually tend to distort. We always do this, right? We distort reality, and we think people think things about us that they'd never thought because this was our thought, or that they feel things about us. So it's a shame to not really be allowing love, to be love. For me, wisdom is to be love. Being love means being able to be everything.
So if you don't love yourself, are you able to be loved?
Unfortunately,
no.
That's awesome. But love for me is the embracing of unlove. So because when we're not love, when we just say it that simplistically, what we're doing is we're trying to be everything so we can be love, and we're trying not to do anything to not be love. And there's this consistent inner war. So I'm going to try for that person not to reject me. I'm going to try for that person to love me. I'm going to try. So all this is a struggle just to get love.
So what does one do?
Huh?
So what does one do?
I love your question. True. So the secret here is, instead of wanting to be love and not wanting to be unlove, we want to get to know our unlove and embrace it. Because I've said this to many people, and I think that this is very touching, and I would love to share it with you.
Sure.
The most difficult thing is not for you to come and complain to me about so-and-so, and I just, I'm there for you. That's easy. Anybody could do that. The most challenging thing for me and everybody on this earth is for you to come and personally attack me or ignore me or not be love towards me, and I become love anyway for you and me. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the most challenging thing. However, we have the ability to reverse that. I've actually played with that. I've had experiences with somebody who was having a a very violent, aggressive, attack towards me in the moment, Alex. These are two very close people, which is very hard. Yeah. I really, I've done it a few times in my life, but I find it extremely hard. And in that moment, I was actually, it's more than two, it's many more now that I remember. But I mean, in that moment, what I did is I held the space, embraced the emotion that was born in me in that moment, which is anger, pain, resentment, blah, blah, blah. I held myself. I was there for me. I was holding myself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And therefore, I didn't do the same thing the other person, attacking through my ego to get, to hit them like they hit me. And once I did that, I was holding the space for them because I was able to do it for me. And you know what happened? They either stopped, they either started crying, they either started laughing because they would confuse their words on their own. And they would actually awaken before my very eyes on their own like this.
It's all in the communication. It's all in the dialogue. And it's all in, when I'm doing something, I find that when I start with, I was telling my patients, when you start with I, instead of start accusing someone, you start with I. For example, I feel this way because of what your actions. Automatically, your defense system doesn't go up. When you start saying, you piece of shit, you did this, you did that, then automatically that person doesn't see anything else. The wall goes up and it's back and forth and nobody hears anybody. When you say, my feelings are hurt, because of your actions, because you didn't, then you're just expressing, and they can't deny how you feel because you're expressing how you feel. They can't say, no, you don't feel like that. I feel like that because of what you did, because of your actions. And so it tends to lessen the attack blow. And as a result, like you say, some people just start crying. For example, I speak only as a man and from a perspective of a husband, a boyfriend. And so when I was ever accused of something, I would just respond, my automatic defense mechanism, and I justify why I did this, and this. But if my wife or the girlfriend start crying and say, I'm really hurt, and didn't start with the finger pointing, I would immediately, I'm empathic, so automatically I feel the sadness, and I want to console, and it's a whole different approach. But she's saying the same thing. It's the way you say it.
That's a beautiful technique, and I just recently started learning this, to bringing out the hero in the others.
Yes.
Specific way to talk to the person, but this is not only talking, and it's actually feeling it. Because if we're just talking, I've tried to do it a few times talking, but inside of me I was so suppressing my anger, Alex, and my anger was communicated without me expressing any anger with my words.
Right.
Sometimes this is, how do you call it? Subconscious communication? No, how's it called?
I've heard of subconscious communication, but it's almost like one of those things that you can communicate without saying words. You understand?
Exactly. It's so powerful.
Sort of, but it's not.
Yeah. So I bring out the hero is, like being able to talk to somebody and say, let's say somebody's, rude to me. I feel like, and I'm not saying that I do it all the time. I'm still training with my method too, but I mean, there's only this much I can do. So what happens is, when you tell the other person, when you speak to me with love, I understand everything you say. And I'm sure that when you do want, for us to communicate on a deeper level, you just make it happen for us. And then the other person just wants to do it.
I think a lot of times we forget the objective, and everyone wants to justify their actions and what they've done, and
who's right and who's wrong.
We just need to better, I think, teaching people how to communicate with each other, and that's one of the things about I consider myself an expert in relationships because I've had plenty, and I was married for 18 years. So obviously, each one you learn something new, and so that's what gives me the expert. No, I'm not licensed. I'm not an expert with a certificate, but I just, life itself has given me that certificate of credibility that I've been through the trenches. I know what, and so I know what works and what doesn't. Does that make me a perfect candidate? No, of course not. I'm only human, and I make plenty of mistakes, but I'm also aware of the mistakes. I'm aware of what I do. And I think I just get a little better with age.
You grow through everything that, you define as negative, right? Most of the things.
Right. Yeah.
If we have a mindset, it's a growth mindset, not a survival one.
Sometimes you have actions. You're maybe, for example, you're impatient, and you're impatient. You know that this person, for some reason, you can't keep it together as far as your patience. I have one person in mind. I'm not saying who. So this person that I have in mind, for some reason, I see them and I just can't be a patient person. And I know in my brain, as I'm speaking, I know, why aren't you just more tolerant, more patient? And it's almost like having Tourette's, and but obviously not Tourette's as in saying fuck you, but rather just I need, it's difficult. I find that to be the most struggling for me. And this person, and I'm not saying who, it's a family member. And so this is a person I should have the most patience with, and I have the least.
That's the reason.
I'm aware of it. As I do it, and till this day, I'm getting better a little bit, but not significantly to the point where I'm
Can I give you a pointer on that?
What's that?
Can I give you a pointer for that? So you just said it on your own, that with this person, you want double the patience.
Absolutely, and needed.
look at this. So let's say I'm you and you're that person. So if I don't have patience with you, which means I get irritated really fast,
Correct.
very easily.
Correct.
Now I have that problem. And now what am I asking? To do the opposite. I can't even, you know, embrace what is happening, the irritability. And now I'm asking to double my patience, which is impossible. I'm asking for an impossible thing to happen, actually. The thing that I'm looking for, because that's a lie. I don't want patience actually with that person. I want to be okay to be irritated by them. That's different. See how it changes? It's something softer, it's something more makes sense. The other one was just too strict. It's like, you know, me feeling anxiety and saying, no, you have to be calm. Now that you're anxious, you have to be calm. I will never change. I can never do it. It's impossible. You know, somebody being afraid and you tell them now, be strong. Well, hello, please understand my fear and allow me to, you know, to communicate with my fear. How am I going to embrace my fear? So the question is, how do I, as Alex, embrace the irritability I feel around that person and hold myself in that moment and be there, like, just for me, because in that moment, I'm being so violent to myself. Plus, I'm irritated. And then I expect double patience. This is like so painful.
Absolutely.
I don't need patience with that person. I need to make it okay to be irritated by them and to make peace with that. How does that sound? Does that sound more easy?
Good, but I don't know how they benefit then. I mean, that benefits for me, but they're the ones who are on the receiving end of my irritability and impatience. And so, there's a lot of factors involved. Obviously, it's not just one of the main factors is, are they of sound mind? You know, if they are, and are you being impatient because they are not of sound mind 100%? You know, they're slipping slowly and you're just irritable because you're not, you know, there's a lot of factors to that.
Something else coming up.
Yes, I see what you're saying. I need to embrace that irritability, but if I don't change I don't know. I need to be better at the patience part. That's what I don't know how to do.
Okay, so there's two things that are coming up. First of all, I don't need to embrace it. I just need to be aware of it though. Okay, so there's something very important that's coming up now. So when I go and see that person, I always expect for me to be different with them or them to be different. That's the problem. We tend to have the memory of a goldfish, all of us, with things that bother us. And we always say, please let that person be different, but they are the same. Why wouldn't you expect them to be the same? And then we actually impose, you know, the wanting to change. So until now, I wanted that relationship to change. It never has. So now, how about if I don't want it to change? How about if I expect it to be as it is every time? Anticipate it to be exactly like that. At least I'm not gonna be surprised, because actually, you know what we do to ourselves? I don't want it to be like this. I don't want it to be like this. I hope it's not gonna be like this. And we go, oh no, it's like this again. So I just got disappointed. It doesn't even make any sense. It was like this. We knew it. Why did you want to make it something else than what it really is?
Right.
So now, instead of expecting for me to be patient and, you know, being irritated and patient on top, now I'll expect to be irritated and not patient at all. And I'll expect them to not stop wanting to irritate me. You'll see. You try it out, and if it works, you let me know.
I'll try it.
We have a lesson now, just so we know. It's just a fast tweak. You just play with this. You say, you know what? I've been doing the same thing all the time. I've been trying to change it, it doesn't change. I've been wanting it to change. Then how about if I don't expect it to change and I know it's going to be exactly like that? But in that moment, I just want to say, yes, I knew you'd be like this. Yes, come. Yeah. How about if you catch yourself 3 times by saying yes?
Yeah.
To say yes to what you were anticipating and not wanting it to change. That's the suffering.
So would you say that your lifestyle, since you've dealt and dove into this in the last few years, it's almost it's a sense of awakening, would you say?
I'm gonna say one thing. I suffered from extreme anxiety ever since I was young, panic attacks, depression, you know, pills, like severe things we had in the family. Like there's so much stress in the family. So yeah. And I could never bear being alone. So at this moment in time, I'm, you know, creating my own business and I'm feeling calm. I'm learning to do business in flow, which is really important, without force. We're creating this technology that's going to help a lot of people. switch their consciousness on their own or with their mentors or teachers. It doesn't have to be necessarily with me, but that's going to be an extra thing that will help them fast to get to where they want to get.
Right.
So I would say that after these, I'm in love more and more with my life.
That's isn't that the ultimate goal? Just to
Yeah.
it sounds like you're content, you're happy.
Not always. That's a bit misleading, and if I allow that message to go through, it's going to be
Well,
not.
that's why I use content. Content is more constant. Happy is like a roller coaster. You can be happy. You can't be happy all the time, or else you're delusional.
Also, so listen, I want to explain it this way. So when I'm sad, sadness is okay. Before it was unbearable. When I'm angry, there's something for me to grow and learn from. It's okay. When I'm stressed, oh, that's interesting. But the thing is, you know what happens? The moment I feel, because this is what has changed in my life. The moment I feel anything that is not equanimity, I'm on it, and I got myself the gift. So I give me the growth automatically. I don't wait for things to go like this, like this, like this.
What you have is the tools. You have the tools to be able to recognize and to attack and to work on and different things that come at you, fear, stress, anxiety. They don't go away. All of a sudden they disappear in life because circumstances are there and they will come up where you are higher anxiety, stressed, and so forth. But you now have the tools. You recognize it's not a foreign object that I'm gonna die. So that's I think that's probably what you're doing with your patients, your students, is reminding them that they have that they have built-in tools that you are bringing out for them to deal with the situation.
I want to say two things. The one thing is that okay, so it's different to be suffering from anxiety for years, and it's different to feel it in the moment and embrace it, and it shifts. That's the difference between life in suffering and life in thriving. There's a huge difference.
Absolutely.
That's number one. Number two, the connections I have in my life now, from there, I could tell you, Alex, even my mom awakened, my dad, my brother, everybody around me is awakened. There is no person that is not working with themselves in consciousness.
Because of you?
Because it's my projections. Everybody else outside of us is our projections. So if I'm seeing others asleep, who's asleep? I am. Who's sleeping? I am. The more people are, because the people around me, they all want to change the world. They're doing it. They're doing projects like that. My connections, we connect on such a deep level. I'll tell you, she's not my best friend, she's actually my closest. We're mentoring each other. She's a few years older than me, close to your age. She's a beautiful woman from Sweden. And well, how we connect? She calls me because she says, I just saw you. She's in Sweden, right? And she says, I felt this about you. I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what happened. We talk telepathically. You know what I mean? We see each other's blind spots and we help the other one unlock, and they unlock like this. We support one another to grow. But this is not only with her. I have this with everyone, including you. I care that you go forward in life, and if I could do anything for you, I want that. Did you see? I want to be an addition to people's life, and they are all in mine. You know what I mean? All people around me.
I just watched it. It's funny. Movie that reminds me of this, which the miracle. It was called, I think I saw it last night. The Miracle from Heaven, and it's basically something of miracles happen around us all the time. For example, miracle is you and I connecting 3 years ago and having a great lunch, and then 3 years later I contact you out of the blue and we do a Zoom. These are little miracles. And miracles don't have to be atomic bombs and explosions. They're little daily things that can occur. You have a connection, a bond with someone. You feel them, you think of them in every way. And so, yeah, and that opened my eyes to that. You think of a miracle in a colloquial fashion as something just really a miracle. But miracles are little miracles that can also happen on a daily basis. And I learned from that. I thought it was beautiful. And everything's a miracle. All these connections, these energy exchanges, they're little miracles.
The fact that you started this YouTube channel is a miracle.
Yes, it's been calling me. It's been calling me. And I thought, I'm gonna try it and see what happens. I mean, I enjoy getting deep into conversations. I enjoy learning, especially, and interesting people all over the world. Now, how do people get a hold of you? How do they reach you if they want your services and stuff like that?
I could send you. Sorry?
Are you ready for that?
Yeah, of course. I'm always ready. There's no better time than now, right? For
You are
everything.
7 hours ahead from the United States, so everyone knows. You are 7 hours ahead, so scheduling accordingly is important.
A site, which is, for now, it's called www.theqi8.com or quantumintelligence.site. But this is going to change in a bit, so we could update it through, we could add the site underneath your YouTube video. That's fine. But they could find me on Facebook, Instagram. Through that site, they will find me everywhere. So.
And you basically anybody anywhere in the world, really, it doesn't matter. In today's world, it's all Zoom now.
Everything is Zoom. Yeah. Well, I have been teaching like this forever.
Are you guys still in lockdown in Greece?
Oh, yeah, they are. And I'm saying they because I don't feel like I am.
I'm thinking, where are you, really?
I'll tell you, they have this, that you have to send a message because the cops do this. I don't send messages. They tell you have to be a specific time at home. I'm not at a specific time at home.
What do you mean? You have to send messages?
So you text whenever you get out of the house that you're going to shop or you're going to the government.
Wow.
Yeah, but not a lot of Greeks are doing it. I mean, they've imposed it, and I don't believe a lot of people are doing it. I don't do it. A lot of other people don't do it around me. Like, I don't even feel that. And they imposed the curfew, which at the beginning I was, going with the law, the illegal imposed rule, not law. I don't believe that these things are laws. And I just, at some moment, I didn't reject it. I just said, you know what, if I'm holding myself back because I'm afraid to pay the 300 euro fine, then I'm, then I'm as, imprisoned as they tell me I am.
Like we call it here the sheep,
Exactly. But then it's not their fault that they're bullying people around. It's my fault that I'm allowing them to do it.
Yes.
So I said, no, I will not do it. And I have been out.
Become very divisive. It's sad because here in the States, the masked people, they're not masked people. The believers are not believers. The germaphobes and the ones who think it's a whole hoax. So it's created so much divisiveness within. It's not just race anymore. Before it was nice and simple. Now it's just all these different things. For example, in Florida, if I go to grocery store, I'll get stared at because I don't have a mask. And because there's a law here where you say I have a medical condition, and they're not allowed to ask you what the medical condition is, called a HIPAA law. They're not allowed. I don't know in other countries, but here. So if I say to someone, I have a medical condition, I can't wear one, they have to let you in if it's a public place. But a private, if a mom and pop guy has a store and I walk in, and if I don't have a mask and he wants a mask store, he will not let me in. So there are places that you have to play with. So I automatically just go to places without a mask, and then I say, do I have to have that? If I do, then I just walk away or shop and put it on, whatever. But yeah, pretty much. I
started forgetting my mask on. I walk out. I don't even wear it. I wear it like this.
Yeah.
If I do, and then when I don't, I'm just walking around normally. I see other people without masks in Greece.
So overall, is there anything else you wanted to add before we get really sidetracked from our?
I don't know. We could just have another conversation sometime in the future. I love conversation.
I really enjoyed this, and I think you've at least given us a little insight of what this is all about. We'll talk later, but yeah, thank you so much. And I think you're awesome. I love you. You're great, and God bless you.
Wonderful, and I'm so grateful for you to have me here and for us to connect again. Really, you're a sweetheart. Thank you so much. And
go out and do the world some good.
You too. You started. Let's do it together. Yeah. Thank you, sweetheart.
Bye-bye.
Love you too. Bye-bye.